Are you ready to rumble? Because if you're not, by the time I'm done, you will be. I promise you. Increased levels of adrenaline and the intellectual and verbal firepower to decimate some of our ideological enemies. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Welcome to the program, friend. You heard about these maniac, evil-doing parents out in California who had 13 children that they were homeschooling and were not feeding them properly. They were malnourished. They were chained to their beds. And then one of the girls got out and went to the police, and the police have arrested the parents. They're on something like an $8 million bail. They're not getting out of jail anytime soon, and neither should they. So I was so repulsed and sickened by what those people did. They're sick. They literally have demons working with them, in them, through them, whatever it is. I didn't cover it on this program because there's a lot going on in the news, but I'm going to now. But I'm going to come at it from the vantage point of the Los Angeles Times. The Los Angeles Times came out with an editorial about what the government should do regarding homeschoolers. So I'm going to read this editorial. We're actually going to put it on screen, and I'm going to do a stream of consciousness because I'm so enraged by what these overeducated fools have proposed. All right, you ready? And what they didn't talk about. Let's look at this. Every once in a while, a horrible story involving homeschooled children grabs the public's attention. Most recently, a Paris couple allegedly kept their 13 sons and daughters chained and malnourished while filing the proper paperwork each year to tell the state that they were running a small, home-based private school for kids. So to affirm what I said earlier on, these parents were involved in criminal acts, all right? Have that as the backdrop. You ready now? So here we go. Gloves are coming off. Every once in a while, a horrible story involving homeschool kids grabs the public's attention. How about every day a horrible story involving public school children grabs people's attention? Okay? How about shootings at public school? How about sexual abuse of minors at public school? How about drugs at public school? We came from a school in a school district in West Virginia where 2/3 of the high schoolers that were polled said that they were currently using drugs. 2/3 of the whole high school using drugs. I have a friend in West Virginia who teaches in one of the schools there. He told me that in a 14-day window, 7 parents died of drug overdoses. And 2 parents, same mom and dad of the same kids, 2 parents died. So now those children are complete orphans, okay? What about those stories? LA Times. Don't tell me every once in a while a horrible homeschool story emerges. It's every day that we hear the insanity of public schools in your city. You hypocritical cowards. You want to invest time and money in reporting on the status of education. Use it in your own city. But I will continue. Most tales of homeschooling are, of course, nothing like this. Yeah, I know. Most aren't. But the Paris case serves as a reminder that California plays it too loosey-goosey when it comes to the welfare and education of homeschooled children. Hey, can I point something out to you? The vast majority of crimes committed against children are not committed by homeschool parents. And the vast majority of crimes committed against children are when parents are not around. Or if they are committed by parents, the kids aren't the kids are not in homeschool. Okay? Case in point, what we went through in the county where we lived in West Virginia. 2/3 of the kids on drugs. They don't even know how many of the parents are involved in an opiate addiction or other drugs. This is bizarre that they're doing this. I'll tell you why they're doing it. It's because they don't like Christians. It's because the vast majority of homeschoolers are devout Christians. There are people who are not Christian. All right, and by the way, I mean evangelical, Protestant, Catholic. There are probably 10% or less of the homeschool world that are not devoutly religious. They're doing it for other reasons. And I'm going to address that as we go forward, okay? But they look at us, we homeschool, okay? They look at us like, what is wrong with you? Are your kids being socialized? No, I'm really sorry, they're not. I can honestly confess that no one offered my kids drugs today, yesterday, or in the last 5 years. No one put pornography in front of them. No one offered to go behind the school and do you know what? Good grief, these people are morons. But wait, I've got more. Did I call them morons? That was unkind to me. These are overeducated fools. I'll be right back. Today, many so-called Christian intellectuals believe that the God of evolution used billions of years of death and destruction to evolve the bodies of the first human beings. Then, they simply declare the theory of evolution as fact to justify their unproven scientific fallacies. By the grace of God, more and more Catholics are rejecting this modern-day mythology in favor of the traditional doctrine of creation, as recorded by the Bible, and believed and taught by all the fathers and doctors of the Church. To find out how sound theology and natural science confirm the sacred history of Genesis, visit the Colby Center for the Study of Creation, and be sure to check out our bookstore, which has titles like I Have Spoken to You from Heaven, A Catholic Defense of Creation in 6 Days, and A Catholic Assessment of Evolutionary Theory. That's the Colby Center for the Study of Creation. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an episode where I get to righteously vent my spleen against evildoers, overeducated fools, people who believe that the government is our savior. Let us continue with the Los Angeles Times editorial regarding how the government should be in your home if you're a homeschooler. Not that lawmakers should go all nanny state on parents who choose to educate their own children. Really? We're going to see how that's complete hypocrisy, that statement. New York State, for example, takes it too far by requiring homeschooled students to take the state's annual standardized tests. Similarly, a court ruled 10 years ago that California homeschoolers must have a teaching credential. That ruling was quickly reversed after an outcry from homeschooling supporters. Let me tell you something about homeschooling. There's many things to tell you. Because there are people who are so indoctrinated by the government that they think that to educate a child, you have to have some kind of certification. If you are an adult and you are around a child, you're educating the child. Do you speak with proper grammar? You're teaching the child how to speak. Are you kind? Are you mean? I mean, these are all ways that we teach children. And what adult doesn't get around a child who's young and say, this is blue, this is red, this is yellow? We're always teaching children. Parents, relatives, neighbors, friends, acquaintances. We teach children. The issue is teaching them the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, as they used to be called, okay? That's part of the core debate here is about educating children on things like, can you read? All right? And if you can read and your 5-year-old can't read, guess what? You're qualified to teach a child because there's only about 10,000 curriculum out there that teach you how to use phonetics. And oh, by the way, you're probably going to be lucky and not have a look-say method put in front of you. You know what look-say is? You remember for quite a while, and still some places they do it, they weren't teaching children how to read the English language phonetically. It is a phonetic language. That symbol has a sound associated with it. They were teaching children how to memorize a word. When you see that word, not when you see the letters, the combination of the letters, it's absurd. It's insanity. I've got more to come. Some parents choose homeschooling because they believe that in regular public schools, important educational priorities have been subordinated to standardized test scores. Wrong, you morons. Please forgive me for those of you who are offended by me calling them morons. I will call them educated fools, because the Bible does call people fools, okay? The fool has said in his heart, no God. There's a lot of places in the scripture where the Bible calls people fools, okay? And the prophet Elijah mocked the prophets of Baal. These are prophets of Baal. These are fools. These are evildoers. So let's go. Let me go back to this. Some parents choose homeschooling because they believe that in regular public schools, important educational priorities have been subordinated to standardized test scores. Wrong. It's that you don't teach. You teach kids how to be politically correct. It's that you don't teach cursive handwriting. You realize that most public schools have abandoned cursive handwriting? And cursive handwriting is associated with certain wiring in certain parts of the brain that are really important for a child to become a successful adult. They've abandoned it. Why? Because they've got 20, 25, 30 kids in a room and a teacher dealing with, oh my goodness, guess what? People from dysfunctional homes. People who have parents that are in great difficulty, who are not teaching their children. So you've got kids in school that are bullies. Let's talk about that for a minute. They've got an abusive parent at the house, but don't worry, their kids are in public school. The Child Social Services hasn't figured it out, or maybe it's not a really severe criminal act, just moderate criminal act, or who knows? Maybe it's really not that bad, but this kid's got something going on in him, and he's a bully. Okay? My kids haven't been bullied in school. There are little boys and little girls who are traumatized every day. One of my adult children has a child in public school, and he's sick to his stomach. He's in knots because when he gets on the bus, he's picked on by this one boy every day. So now my adult child is taking the son to school in the car and picking him up just to avoid the bullying situation. But oh, guess what? In school, in the hallway, it continues. It's not just that we were worried about standardized tests. What a bunch of crap. I know that my kids can pass a standardized test, okay? But even if they couldn't, they're articulate, they're well-mannered, they can converse with adults, they play musical instruments, they know how to clean up after themselves. Should I go on? And they're not bullying other kids. They're not picking on other kids. They're kind to kids that are smaller than them, that are young. They're not torturing animals. In other words, they're being prepared to be adults in the real world. And government schools, public schools, are helping children to remain children. And oh, by the way, guess what? A huge minority of children can't do when they graduate. I'll tell you when I come back. LA Times, you overeducated fools. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. I'm just getting warmed up. Okay, I continue. In fact, the reasons for homeschooling run the gamut. A desire for more religious instruction or an education enriched with hands-on experience. Frequent family moves that would disrupt education. A child's serious medical issues. Resistance to having children vaccinated. Some of these reasons are laudable, others not so. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's it? Those are your reasons? Some of these are far outliers. Yeah, some people do want a godly education. Now, there was a time in American public history when the number one book used to teach a child to read and write was the King James Bible, okay? And the McGuffey Reader, teaching kids phonetics, had passages of the Bible. The Bible was used as the number one textbook to teach someone how to read and write, and they were literate, all right? Before the break, I said I'm going to tell you what a large minority of children can't do when they graduate from public school. Ready? They can't read and write. 2/3 of them cannot identify Africa on a map. My children can tell you where Egypt is, where Jerusalem is, where England is, where Italy is, because we're constantly going up there. Well, Randall, you're an educated person, and you're an unusual example. No, I'm really not. I'm really not. So when they give us this nonsense, yes, we want our kids to have a godly education. We do. We want our children to know that God is the center of the universe, center of law, culture, society. And when he's not the center, and when he's not in his rightful place, then all hell breaks loose. Everything goes to hell, okay? We want our children to understand that. Oh, and my goodness gracious, when you took God out of the public schools, what happened? They went to hell, okay? Now they're the breeding ground for out of marriage wedlock, pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, physical assault, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, bullying. Do the math. The reasons that people homeschool is that the Bible says that evil relationships or corrupt relationships corrupt good morals. Children are fools. You know that, right? All children are fools. They are. You don't have to teach a kid to lie. He'll lie. He will. And he'll disobey you. He'll put his hand in that socket. Don't put your hand in the socket. He'll look right at you and go, like. So our duty as parents is to integrate them, to try and civilize them, to integrate them into culture, into society, so that they're good children. It's hard. Homeschooling is hard. It's not easy. But our children are reading. And oh, here's another thing. How about the student to teacher ratio? This is something they didn't mention. See, if they'd have actually put the reasons that people homeschool in this paragraph, they'd have people pulling out of government schools left and right. We have a 4-to-1 ratio, actually 4-to-2. My wife and I, 4 children. Then we have tutors that come in. We have music teachers. We have people that help tutor with all kinds of aspects with their education. And when we didn't have tutors helping us, we had incredible textbooks, incredible curriculum. And you know this is really crazy. You can teach a kid what they learn in a public school in a day, you can teach a kid in 2 to 3 hours because he's not being interrupted by all the crap that goes on in a classroom. You remember, I don't even want to tell the stories of stuff that I went through when I was in public school as a child and as a teenager. I literally don't want to discuss them on the air. But some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what our children aren't facing in a public school. And oh, by the way, my kids are learning cursive. My kids are reading the Bible. We homeschoolers, we take our education seriously. Do you really think that a lot of government schools are taking education seriously? How can you have 1/3 of the kids who graduate who can't read and write? They're illiterate. You've got to be an expert to keep a child in 13 years of education and for them to graduate illiterate. You got to be a stinking genius to keep a kid that stupid that long. And you want us to have a government official in our homes? I haven't even gotten to that part yet. I'll be right back. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, What Would Muhammad Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Muhammad and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. I don't have enough time to finish reading this whole thing on the air. I encourage you to go read it for yourself. I'll read a couple of more excerpts. What might a reasonable, non-bureaucratic set of rules look like? Here's one possibility: annual inspections by school districts reimbursed by the state to ensure that students are learning in a basically decent environment. The inspectors would interview students privately so that they could feel safe talking about any abuse, and would review the educational plan and portfolio of the students' work to see whether the parents are actually teaching. You people are fools and you don't know what you're talking about. You're fools, okay? Really, bureaucrats? Just the sheer number of man hours is almost, it's ridiculous. Spend the time in the government schoolrooms. Go and interview the kids and find out how many of them can read and write. See how many of them are being abused by other students. See how many of them are eating and then throwing up because they're so afraid of what other girls think about them. This is disgusting, people. The number of homeschoolers that are truly committing criminal acts against their children, it's minuscule, all right? And please, God, let those things come to light, like it did with this family. Oh, it took a long time. Yeah, it takes a long time for most or many crimes to come out, okay? The number of crimes being committed against children in the United States of America is horrendous. Oh, and it's partly because of abortion, all right? Don't kid yourself. We view children as throwaway items. This same editorial board believes in abortion on demand. They believe you can kill your baby. And now they're going to be telling us that we need a government official to go into every single homeschool house once a year and interview the kids privately. This is not nanny state. This is not frickin' communism, Nazism. These are evildoers, people. Make no bones about it. I'll say this in closing. My children, please God, please Jesus, my children will lead and they will serve. They will lead and serve, because you know what? They're being taught to lead and serve right now. They're not being taught to shut up. In a lot of these schoolrooms, they're just taught, just shut up, just sit there, be quiet. Get your chair in a straight row. It's about class management, about teaching them to be good drones so they can go to work at Walmart or McDonald's. And he said that a lot of people pull their kids out of public school because that's when they're starting to really abuse them. They want to hide the abuse. This is when school teachers start asking questions. Are you kidding me? Your pathetic little anecdotal stories are a joke. No one pulled a gun on my kids, all right? When's the last time you heard about a mass shooting in a homeschool? When's the last time you heard about drugs being peddled? 2/3 of the kids in the homeschool being on drugs. You don't hear about it because the parents, I know this is going to sound crazy, parents have the best interest for their kids in mind. The vast majority of parents would die for their children. Not just educate them, we would die for them, okay? So you're telling me that a bureaucrat is going to come into the house and interview us, is going to have more concern for our child's welfare than us? You must take stupid pills by the fistful to be as stupid as you are. How do you even get a job at the LA Times? Oh, I know. You're stupid, but you're articulate. Ooh.